Jeff.
Yeah. Okay, Doc.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Down, sir. And
Yep.
then Charlie, if you don't take your normal seat, and then we can bring in our guests. They're on also a tight time schedule because they're still clearing up their typhoon recovery as well at home. So we appreciate Senator ThereseTerlaje and Senator Sabina Perez. Please come into our studio. Good morning. Nice to meet you both.
Welcome. Nice to have you here.
Good to see you.
Hi. Yep, my
Good
pleasure.
morning. Good morning. Hi. Happy Sunday. Have a seat. And we really appreciate this. Folks just need to know that this is a very organic process, and so organic that it happened yesterday. And she really did have the opportunity to say no, because we understand that there are many other pressing issues. But I think this is for everyone in this studio, and certainly those out there in our listenership, a great and exciting moment. So Jeff, you as the pirate captain can take the lead in welcoming our guests.
Welcome. Hafa Day.
Thank
It's
you.
great to have you here. You live in Jonia, right?
Yes.
It's all downhill.
Always.
So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? You know,
Sure.
you grew up on Guam, right? And tell us about that.
Well, first,
yeah.
can I just take one moment to just also tell the people of Guam that are watching, you have a lot of viewers here, and I'd just like to tell them that we're very grateful that the storm passed us a little bit. We're very sorry for the harm that it caused here and in the Marianas and Chuuk, and but it's really lifting to see the community's response almost immediately, that they were already starting to, you know, of course they take care of their parents' house, maybe their mothers and their own families and their neighbors, but they really have almost immediately stepped up to also help the Mariana Islands. And I want to thank all those nonprofits that are leading that, and also in helping our neighbors in Chuuk. And unfortunately, we have some people who are very vulnerable prior to the storm, who are still very much vulnerable. We have about 280 still in one of the shelters in Jigo. And that's really, I think, tells us a lot about the vulnerability of our island as well, and things that we have to improve. And on some of these things, it's typhoon response cannot improve it. We have to improve it, you know, every day as we go along and prioritize that.
Typhoon shelters.
Yes, well.
You know, because at one time FEMA offered to build shelters here, right? And we should take advantage of that, because when we tie up the school, that stops the school too. And it's not a secure place either, right?
The former mayor, Jesse Gobi in Ordet, was a real visionary, and he really created a large facility to be used as a typhoon shelter, especially so that they didn't have to use the schools.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Pago, and so that is actually functioning. And I think the mayor, right before the storm or right after the storm, said they still needed more generators in there, but they want to be able to shelter everyone who is in need so that the schools wouldn't have to be impacted so much. But if you look at the number of people who had to shelter in the schools for this typhoon, we still see that very many people in our community still remain vulnerable, and I think we need to change that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to add a thank you to all the village chats, because that was another area where people were able to ask for help, and people were able to get help for that reason. And that's one way I got help as well. So thank you to all those out there that had resources and new contacts and are willing to help and help out in times of need. I also think, you know, as I was driving up to these different areas, you know, seeing all the illegal dumping and trash and everything, and that really, you know, we really need to establish a FEMA debris site, and that is something that can be done with our agencies. They just need to develop that, so we're ready to go when that happens.
I think they said the Oka Point was opening up for anything you want to bring.
It's open today, so they.
Remember last typhoon, how big that got? It was taller than the hospital.
So right now, they're only opening that one for general debris, and then they're opening one for green, or maybe several for green. I know there's one in Jotnia for the green waste, but yeah, these sites open temporarily. Yeah, we might need one permanently, right? Like was one of the suggestions was that the permanent, instead of dumping, you bring your vehicles in and
Well, we
bring
need a
them in one
recycle
central
center
place.
for this
Yes.
too, that we can use.
And also the hardening of our infrastructure is really critical. I mean, a lot of our islanders are still without power and water.
Yeah.
And so they're called to work already, and so it really puts a lot of strain on our families. I'm glad that I'm able to support them in whatever way, I can, but we really need to think of a long-term solution and more proactive solution to this. I know it's gonna cost money, but with our innovation, our ability to innovate, I do have, I'm committed, we're both committed to looking for those solutions.
Yes, we're very grateful too for, of course, the people who helped keep us safe through the storm, kept us informed, physically kept us safe, those who were the first responders out there removing debris, making sure ambulances can function, fire department, the police department, the National Guard who's been out there directing traffic for us since the storm, the GMH, all of the medical providers who continued through the storm to provide care, and those at DOE and the shelters who worked day and night to make sure that everybody was safe. I really am very grateful.
This must be the most gracious and just eloquent introduction to the announcement of two people wanting to take over this government and perhaps be that solution to hardening it, improving it, making us better. So could we, with no further ado, allow you then to introduce yourself to the people of Guam,
Sure.
the people of the universe, your candidacy as Governor and Lieutenant Governor of Guam.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for this forum. I think it's awesome that you brought in all the candidates, and very happy to join them here. And very excited to be running with Sabina for Governor and Lieutenant Governor. And it was a very hard decision to make. It's a huge responsibility, and we do not take it lightly. We take it very seriously. But we have really, there's been this great call in the community for change, and we believe that we can bring that change. We have pretty much dedicated our lives in the legislature to doing that on some of the hardest issues that Guam has faced, and that we will continue to do that. And I believe with the resources of the executive branch, be able to make that change stick, make it stay, make it so that the people of Guam can feel it. Those people, everyday people, need to feel that change in their homes, in their businesses, and in their quality of life. So that's really the goal. That's why it was a hard decision, but I'm glad we've made it, and we're going to move now. But we need your help. So we will need your help, the people, to help us. I think we're of course competing against some very big names in Guam's politics, maybe big campaign funds as well.
Big money.
Yes, big money. And we've seen some big businesses backing some of these candidates. So what I'm asking is that change is going to come, but we all need your help. And I know that's something we have in common, is that this change, we feel that it's an urgent need. And it's not something that we can, and it's a need to make change for immediate, and a need to make change that is long lasting and will really improve the qualities of life for the next generation. That's why I'm very happy to run with Sabina, because her focus, she's always brought us back in the legislature to focusing on how does this impact the next generation, and is this something that's going to make Guam sustainable in the long run. And I think all of those together are going to help us in especially what we deal with like today, typhoon recovery, right? It should be smoother with much more planning, much more hardening of resources, much more prioritization of resources. And again, we're here to prioritize the everyday people who work so hard, who struggle to take care of their families, who want to live on Guam and deserve to thrive on Guam and not have to make choices to live elsewhere, to work elsewhere, to take their children to education elsewhere. And we believe we can make those changes. So thank you for this opportunity to describe that.
Senator Perez?
Yeah, and I just want to also add that, our record shows that we stand up against a special interest. We act with integrity, and we always look at the information before us to make the best decision for our people of Guam. And, we've worked hard to address the long-term standing issues, and I'm really proud to work besides Senator Terlaje. She's worked so hard to pass laws, and we even had to overcome vetoes, in fact, to get these laws passed. And so this is a dedication that you can expect from us. We have a vision, and we have the commitment and the hard work to make change happen. And we're rooted in this community. I moved back to Guam, and I became a teacher because when I came back to Guam, I said, okay, what's needed on Guam? And I opened up, and they needed teachers. So I became a teacher. I went back to school, got my degree, taught for 9 years at Simon Sanchez High School, and then I was asked to run for senator, which I reluctantly did, but then I did it because I felt that I can do more as a senator to help our people. And so this is the commitment that we bring. We have the record to show that we've addressed chronic issues, and now we need to see them implemented in the executive branch consistently.
How long have you been a senator?
So I've been a senator, this is my 4th term.
And Therese?
My 5th term, I was in right before her. We came in right before the change of administration, so I served 1 term as a senator while Eddie Calvo was the governor. And then, of course, then the election came after that term, and we had a new governor. So I am grateful for that experience, to have seen, different governors and how they work with the legislatures, and also different legislatures. So now I've seen 5 different legislatures, and they're very, very different. And that's something that I guess
Can be a problem.
sometimes, but it's really just different. Like I didn't maybe expect that so much difference would be there, because we all live the same place and kind of want the same things. But there's a very big difference in styles, priorities, willingness to listen to the community, willingness to hear everybody out before you make a decision, willingness to really challenge what's been existing for so very long and see what really is the core of these issues. Because a lot of times we see like superficial changes that just, cosmetic, I guess you could say sometimes. But I feel like we have a short time in the legislature when we get elected. We're elected for 2 years, and you've got 2 years to make a change. And if you're just going to make superficial things, it's not going to stick. And that's what we've seen. And we've seen sometimes administrations change and their priorities change, and that's really interesting, right? And that's really something that I don't want to go backwards on any of the progress that Guam has made. Of course, we want to go forward with progress, but there are things that kind of just are mind-blowing, right? You have to ask.
The
like,
situation with the hospital and the
Yes.
prison and
yes.
things that are going to have solutions that never became real. And that's what,
Yeah.
bothers me most as a resident of Guam is we need to move forward. We need to
Yes,
get things
absolutely.
done.
I totally agree
Prioritize,
with you.
you know?
Yes, and I think it should be done on a very fair basis. This is another thing I think that we've seen in our years is that sometimes the problem is that not everybody's working for that same goal. That let's get this done fairly, let's get fair competition, let's get a good value for the government. Sometimes it's let's just take care of this one person, this company, this whatever. And that, I think, is really one of the biggest things that have to change. That's
It does.
yes.
No,
Charlie?
one of the things, and you brought up a very good point, especially on the amount of terms that you've served. So you've seen it from the inside. And I think one of the things from the outside is, the biggest question that everybody has is, why can't we get things done, right? And I know, and I've seen a lot of your bills, and sometimes it takes time for them. There was one senator that said that my bills I'll never see them like enacted until like 10. You won't see the fruits
Yes,
until
we've seen
many
that. Yes.
years later, right? But in the short term, we have a lot of things that need to get fixed, and we've analyzed it. We've looked at it. We all know what the problems are. Everybody knows what the problems are, And the one thing that I've said is, please, whoever's running for the, for the 39th, please don't say that we're going to take a look. I said, because we've looked at it.
Yes.
We know what it is. So being on the inside and now running for the executive side, what are some of the things that you think that you could, from an executive order or from a perspective that you could say, listen, we need to take care of this now, and this is what we're going to do it from like day one? Because I think that's what I think the people are concerned that, if the politicians are the next ones that will take over Adelup, it's going to be the same sort of 100 days, 1 year, 2 years, and then nothing ever
Well,
gets
I'm not
done.
your typical politician, I don't think, and I think the people would agree. And that's really one of the keys, is because, I agree, and I think we can see the executive branch resources, and we can see the ability of them to prioritize laws, deprioritize laws, prioritize programs, deprioritize programs, prioritize solutions or not. And so for me, that's a huge part of this. It's that ability to be the one to actually implement and prioritize, even within agencies, what they're going to prioritize. They have, let's say, 100 mandates. And so when we ask them, why didn't you do this? Oh, we're just busy on the other ones, or we didn't have resources. We put our resources over here. And it's really, that's a big difference, is what you're going to prioritize. And we want to prioritize the everyday working people, their ability to take care of their families. We really want government services to be for them, to make it the most efficient for their purposes and for business purposes, so that when we're providing services, it's not a burden, it's a service. It's something that can be done as efficiently as possible with them in mind, and that we're not going backwards on those little improvements that we have had, such as when we mandated kind of some things be online at Rev and Tax. Now we are struggling to do anything at Rev and Tax for a period, and that's a contracting issue.
Yeah.
That's not some
Yeah.
typhoon, other man-made, other issue. It's a man-made contracting issue. So a lot of these things, for me, it's really, implementing solutions that we do have, prioritizing those over other things that we are busy with, and really prioritizing the people and their households and their families, and what makes the quality of life better for them, and what is the government's role in that. And so concretely, of course, cost of living. There are ways to prioritize things that are going to address cost of living versus sometimes other things, right? For example, tax credits is very popular. They like to use tax credits for different things. Tax credits at this point need to be prioritized for housing. They need to be prioritized for things that they are suffering with, and shoring up this infrastructure. Education, for example, if I am elected governor, you are never going to hear me say that taking care of the students in the schools is not my job. You are never going to hear that from me, because I believe that's where the whole executive branch, the whole resources of Guam and the government of Guam really should come into play, and that is shoring up our schools and making sure that our students are not living substandard on Guam. They are not getting educated substandard on Guam. There is no reason for that. We have the most qualified people here on Guam. We have dedicated professionals who've come back to, serve, to run businesses, to do all kinds of things, and we should all be thriving. That's what we're going to work hard. And I really think there's other ways too. We need, for good quality of life, we need to prioritize crime, right? And of course, that sounds cliche, for almost every politician will tell you this, but I'm telling you, it's hard to really understand. I know, Jeff, you said we have a meth crisis. We have a huge meth crisis. And some people say, well, it's been going on for so long, and that kind of diminishes it. I totally disagree. I think it's the opposite. It's been going on for so long that there is no excuse for that. And so we know drugs have to come in certain places, and that's why we've really tried to get to the bottom of that, like what it is that is preventing any kind of, finding any kind of drugs coming through the port. none in years. Maybe none, if any, maybe very little at the airport. And so, of course, yes, success at the post office with some federal assistance, but I can't understand the reason for that. And we're trying to get to the bottom of that. We've introduced many bills, and so hopefully if they are implemented and Customs really does get the access that they want and need, that we're going to see.
I mean, we're able to find spiders,
Yes,
right? These
right?
little tiny spiders, but we can't
You're right.
find the drugs.
They-
And we
they
had
find it.
how many containers with the seals broken?
That's
With, you
correct. That's
know,
exactly what
that's
we're finding.
the problem. I mean, and then the port's in denial, and, you know, that's, you know, I would like the idea of privatizing the port.
Oh.
Keep the employees, but run it
I-
like a business.
I think there's some very good employees, but their systems sometimes are not accountable to everybody, right? And I
Correct.
think if they are, and hopefully we have a solution for part of that in the works, going through the process right now, where, you know, apparently, they haven't been required to put on shipping seals, or it's kind of like not heavily enforced, and so it's almost like an option.
Yeah, different rules, and that's
Yes.
unfortunate because you have the international rules which
Yeah.
require you 100%. If there's a container that comes
Right.
in without a seal, it doesn't even go through the gate.
Yes.
On the domestic side, which we're quasi considered domestic, completely different set of rules, even though the security systems are in place. But you know, those are the things that we
Yeah.
need to look out for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the one thing that you said is, you know, one of the things that we've always been saying is, you know, the government should be working for the people.
Yes.
But when we don't have systems,
Mm-hmm.
when DRT and people can, you know, the big thing that I'm still waiting, you know, I'm still trying to collect my $2.64 from online payments, which we're not supposed to pay. And I've gone to
Yeah.
Rev and Tax, I've gone to Treasury, and, you know, I show up and I'm asking for my $2.64 because they were not supposed to charge us for online.
Oh, the credit card?
Yeah, the credit
Yes,
card fee,
yeah.
right?
That's right.
So I went to, you know, I had a meeting with the director, really brief. She was able to meet with me, and I just, because she thought it was something bigger, and I just said, no, I'm here for my $2.64. And she's like, well, we can't do it. Our hands are tied. There's something about the system. And so, but I mean, you see all these layers of just like,
Yeah.
the systems are not in place where they should be working very,
Yeah.
you know, efficiently.
And it's something that's what the agency does,
Right.
right? So that's the thing. Why are we going to agencies that tell us to come back, come back, come back? We can't assist you right now. We can't give you everything that we need. We can't give you the document you need, the payment that you have been waiting for. Yeah, that's.
I mean, for
not
the
acceptable.
amount of money that we pay in, for the amount of money, I had a great conversation yesterday, and I think there was some great valid points from the conversation I had with somebody yesterday about the amount of taxes, income tax that we pay, right,
Yep.
into the government, and how much that makes up a good chunk of the collections, right,
course,
into the general
yes.
fund. But you know, we don't see any of that working. We
Yeah.
don't see any of that
Yeah.
money working.
How the
So
money's spent
Right.
Right.
So when
is
we
what's
try
important
to,
to us.
you know, seeing it, I love that word because that is really, to me, key. That's what my experience tells me now, is that, you know, it's kind of, we've spent a lot of time and resources as senators trying to find information. What is that about? To me, that is ridiculous, that this is information that belongs to the people of Guam. They should have it.
Well,
They should know what the
it's become a
priority.
private club, you
Yeah.
know, the government, you know.
It should be a priority of our government that everybody knows exactly what's happening. And if you're making priorities, they should know what those are. They should know who's next on the road list, who's next on which parts of Rev and Tax are we not going to prioritize this year or not for some reason, right? Or which yes, that's to me what I see, like those are easy changes that a governor can make. Those are easy changes that can really be like a culture through the government, that your directors, they're going to answer, right? They're going to tell you, anyone who asks, the answers. They're not
And be
going
held
to.
responsible.
Yeah, they're not going to have to, you know, run the answer through the governor's office first, and you wait 5 days for the answers to come back. Why? Just like right before the storm, we're trying to find out, what's this money going to be used for? What is the status of
25 million.
Yes, and what is the status, especially of our wells, right? Are we going to get water after the storm? Do we have generators at all the wells? And unfortunately, the representative from the administration had no answer for us. All the answer was something vague like, you know, it's typhoon prep and everybody is working very hard to do that.
Yeah, just
But-
give us the 25 million and we'll
Yeah.
decide what to do with it
But I
later.
would very much like to prioritize and know exactly what is the status, because we still have people without water up to today. And the kind of what we're hearing is it's a power issue. Well, that's what generators were supposed to solve after we had many oversight hearings after the last Typhoon Mawar. Remember all the oversight hearings when we found out they're supposed to have generators. The generators are supposed to be protected at every site so that they can turn water on for everybody after a storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
Sabina, you were going to say?
sorry.
Just about the issue about not getting your $2
Oh,
back.
yeah.
And, you know, fortunately, a decision was made not to harmonize the FMIS system with DRT. And that was a huge failure, I think. That needs to change. There needs to be a way for the government to communicate as one versus, you know, getting, segmented system. And I think that's something that we're gonna prioritize. How do we get the system harmonized so everybody's talking together and we can streamline the process and get the needs met?
I think within the last 12 minutes, the word priority has come up 8 times. And clearly, you're bringing a new perspective as to what this government, the government of Guam, is going to do with the more than $1.5 billion of taxpayer money moving forward. And particularly if you are elected governor and lieutenant governor, it does seem like the big challenge is going to be prioritizing those resources. But that does seem to be almost a policy, isn't it? I mean, so priority means, I guess, and you're a lawyer and you're a teacher, are those words synonymous? And if it is, because I'm thinking that priority means what are you going to spend your money on, so therefore, how do you pull the purse strings? That's actually currently still your job, right? And what I think you've made clear throughout the many years we've seen you as senators is you definitely have a priority. You guys definitely have a vision of how things should go. I think at one point in time you were really hammering in on procurement. Is that correct? Right. And so we're currently having a huge debate about it, but like somebody said in this discussion, it's not for lack of thinking about it or saying it. It really does come down to the executive branch doing it. And then, because unfortunately the executive branch isn't doing some of those things, what are the repercussions? Because then when we come back for budget hearings the next year, which is now, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do with the money we gave you last year, they usually ask for more money. They don't ask for, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't give him his money back. We didn't, connect the dots with these two systems. We failed. So therefore, let us give you some of that money back so you can reprioritize it. They actually usually ask you for more.
So actually, the fix I have is not going to take more money. What the government really needs to do is to create SOPs, and this is what the private sector is saying, is that they hear one thing from one agency and another thing from another agency. And this is what I've been advocating for so long and not getting a response. SOPs, we need standard operating procedures unified across the government. That needs to be, that's what I would like to prioritize.
That sounds like a flow chart, right? So I'm in my simple mind, I'm
Yes.
thinking like a Venn diagram, but maybe even simpler than a Venn diagram. You're talking about if you do this, you have 3 choices and you can't deviate because we've already decided those are the only 3 choices you're gonna have and these are the pathways you go. But then, really what it comes down to, because this is where we are, is what happens when you don't do that? Like, so let's just, for example, your alma mater or your former workplace, Simon Sanchez High School, for the last 38 years has been wandering in the wilderness. We have been hearing about Simon Sanchez High School being 99% ready to go for the last 8 years. And every year they keep getting more funding to perpetuate that madness. You're apparently just about to go into a hearing with the Department of Education for budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you support the termination and defunding of all the people that lied to you last year? Can you effectuate the SOP, the repercussions for failing? Because Simon Sanchez is right now being told that they need to come to terms with being the Tizen sharks. Or some other rigmarole. I mean, I hope it makes your blood boil because it makes mine. And I hope Dwayne Canat is out there getting his blood boils because he's getting paid $85,000 a year to be the special projects coordinator, right? We're wasting money on so many levels. So what's the repercussion? Because you're going to be the executive
Right.
next year. This time next year, Simon Sanchez is going to be your problem.
Yes, and, you know, we definitely want to bring in competent people, people that know how to.
I don't want to bring anybody in. I want to terminate people. I want to punish people that fail.
Responsible
Yeah,
people.
You know, because like if I go out there and Jeff's waitress offends me, or waiter,
Well, I agree that directors have to be held accountable. They absolutely do. There's no reason they shouldn't be. That if they should know exactly which programs they're mandated to implement, which ones, if as a matter of policy, we have decided cannot be priority right now, we don't have enough funds for that, everyone should know that. We should all be on the same page on that.
Who decides that? I
Well,
thought-
right now, I think the
Yeah.
executive branch decides that for agencies.
Do they? I
Because,
thought
yes,
you guys did. You were the policy
In the
makers.
statutes, you will see all the mandates, right? But and we give a lump sum budget, and then that gets implemented on the executive branch level, pretty much. And that's why you'll hear our frustration at the end of the year. We funded this. Why was it not accomplished? Just so we were busy with something else or something else. And I want to say, some of these agencies have really excellent, experienced, skilled people. Thank goodness. And we really need to let them do their thing. We need to let them excel where they can. And, you know, sometimes this political changeover just really has a way of interfering. But you know what? Let me just give you one example when you say. For example, I think the executive branch has a huge impact on what gets budgeted, what doesn't. They send in their requests. That's how the whole process begins. What do they request? And for example, GMH. For maybe the last, I don't know how many years, they have not sent in a budget for CIP, capital improvement projects for the old GMH, despite 5 years ago, or maybe 6 now, the Army Corps coming in and telling us, you've got 5 years on this, you need to make these specific repairs for the 5 years. And after that, of course, we're working on building a hospital, blah, 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 but that, it's that. And so then we in the legislature get in a fight over trying to give GMH money that GMH says we don't need. That makes no sense based on like the Army Corps reports of what they actually have to improve immediately, not wait. So we're talking now about, like you asked me how long I've been in the legislature. When I first came in, and maybe my second term, I became the health chair. And that's when I saw the back of the GMH budget that has this list of capital improvement projects that it's kind of like a wish list because it's not included in their original budget request, like, you know, what that amount's really going to be used for. And so we had a big battle over whether to give them $10 million more that I had found. Yes.
You forced them to
And that's why I'm saying that kind of stuff is a little bit crazy to me,
Do you
right?
feel we should privatize the hospital and the prison and some of
You
these
know,
things?
I had a bill
Yes, you did.
to, and this was based on task force way before me, senators before me, community input before me, and they all came up to an agreement that we should prioritize the management of privatize the management of GMH, make it run like a hospital, take out the politics. And my bill, I thought, was going well, but it got shot down on the floor, not enough votes. Now we see GMH they're doing some privatization, but they're privatizing piecemeals, maybe. And this is the thing, are we gonna privatize the most, maybe money, revenue making parts of it and leave the rest of it as a burden for all the taxpayers? Are we going to, what are we really going to be privatizing? That's not a policy that came out of the legislature. That's something that's being done and we're kind of discovering it as I go along. Now they're going to let go of their whole staff that they invested in, training to bill more promptly because of course revenue is the source of the issue there, right? And now they want to let go of all of the revenue people and contract that part out only. And so I don't know, I feel like my bill is still timely, it's still relevant, it's still like, if you are finding that you cannot do all of these different things, and all the other recommendations, I think even the school, UOG had a recommendation, and they really all point to, it's that upper level management that we want it to be run like a professional hospital and say we want our doctors to come back and feel like they are working in an environment that sports done
And,
like
and,
that.
and there's a lot of, like if you take Kaiser, right, in California, they have a management program where they can come in and manage the hospital. It can still, the government can still have oversight.
Yes.
But it's the, who's pulling the, who's pushing the buttons that we need to be able to, and I will say that I agree, Sabina, with SOPs, as simple as they sound, but the word standard is really what we're missing, because one day it's whoever's behind that window that says you need a yellow paper, and I come in with a yellow paper, and then it says no, it has to be a blue paper, and you're like,
Yeah,
and
that
I
is such a
stopped.
common complaint.
And I stopped
Yeah.
and I said, listen, I don't want. Can you open up and just show me in your book of guidance what's the standard?
So-
And they're like, no, this is what we've been told, and we're like, okay, here we go. So I agree. I think SOPs across the board need, as simple as they sound, when you get to the crux of all the issues that are happening, the staff doesn't have SOPs to follow. So they change constantly, and they're just doing the best that they can with the information that they've been given, but they don't have a standard way to follow it. And then in regards to the hospital, I feel that, we're now in a position where, a lot of logistically, we don't pay our vendors well. So, right now we're down to the vendors that are giving us gloves for, $10 a pair of
Yeah,
gloves.
they're expensive.
But there's no other choice. So I think we need to kind of really
Of
regroup all that.
course, that's
If I could just talk
yeah,
back about Simon Sanchez. So,
Please.
so yeah, it was really kind of frustrating to see the whole thing unfold, as a senator. And, I've tried my best to make the laws, right, to help address procurement. But the problem was so the thing is, there was a protest initially, right? And that was because they didn't know when the award was given. And so that's the one bill that I'm gonna introduce, is to make sure that there's specific things, that clarification in law, so that all vendors who applied for, the bid, they need to know that when the award was given, who was it given to, what was the contract terms. And so that's why protests happen, because there's unclear, SOPs, unclear expectations for the government. And so that's one thing. The other thing was the procurement record. That should be ready. Even the public auditor said they should have it ready within 3 days. And they didn't have it ready. So really, it comes down to, and this is another bill that I've introduced, is the training. So it comes down to training. The public auditor said that when there was training, proper training, there was a decrease in protest. And so we are all worried about protests, and the way to do that is to prevent the protest from happening by having all of these things prepared, our professionals trained properly, so we can avoid the protests, is one thing. So, in regards to, holding people accountable, I'm all for holding people accountable for this, the mess that we're in. And the other thing was that once they've made that decision, they should have made it quickly and not hold on to it. And so otherwise we have these delays that last for weeks and months. So that's what I meant by, we need to sit down, come up with the standard plan, so we can move these things along, because it's not only, the hardship that our Simon Sanchez community is facing, it's the cost when we wait. If this was built, years ago, we wouldn't be faced with these costs, these huge costs, and now it's getting, the times are very difficult, but, really, we need to clean it up, hold people accountable, and, we are gonna get this school built once we get this, the situation cleared up. That's my commitment.
So Senator Perez, I'm so thankful that you're here, because again, you have been living this Simon Sanchez nightmare probably more intimately than any of us. I just look at it as a concerned father. If my kids were going there, I mean, another senior class is graduating, spending 4 years wandering in the wilderness, right? And when they were left there prior, that, I don't know how public health ever allowed them to stay there. As a physician, I'd go in there, and that place should have been condemned a long time ago. That being said, right, I hear what you're saying regarding training people up and all that, but it does sound like you're saying they're incompetent right now, that they can't handle a $300 million bid or a $500 million bid for a hospital, a school. Because you're implying that the current group, it's 165 million. Oh, please forgive me, because
But,
Governor Lulian Guerrero wants those same people to build a $1.6 billion hospital. Do you feel me?
Yeah.
This craziness that we're talking about right now is that our government of Guam employees who just got a 22% pay increase, right, for being such good people, you're telling me that I got to train them up, I got to wait for them to catch up with what's going on, and I'm not mad at you, right? I'm mad at the whole damn situation, and I'm really mad that we're about to have a budget hearing where they're going to all try to keep their raise. How about you take it away? How about we start slashing the budgets and tell them live within your means and privatize whatever? Because again, we say the stuff we're saying is the same thing as I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you.
And so Senator Therese and I have we passed laws regarding merit system. And so what we really want to do is hold up the merit system. Right now, it's very frustrating to see people detailed that are not qualified for these positions.
Like Dwayne Canata?
Detailed, limited term,
Detailed
yeah.
assignments, yeah, limited term assignments.
You know, like Amanda
That when we
Shelton?
tried to hold them accountable, you
I mean, let's
can't.
just call them out because they're getting paid $85,000 to be detailed to do work that we really need done. You're talking about people that are in unclassified positions within the government that are deputy directors. I can
And
name a
both
couple more
classified.
people like
There's also-
Tyrone Taitano.
There's also classified positions where people get transferred to higher positions, and they don't qualify for that.
The purpose of this kind of discussion, raw and unfiltered, is we say stuff that apparently people don't want to say, except they're talking about it right now, because we are calling out the governor and Josh Chinoyo for not doing their job. Simon Sanchez High School is their failure. Will it be yours? What will you do different?
Absolutely not. Not going to be a failure. We are going to make sure, as Senator Sabina said, that is a priority. And it is a procurement process that needs to be done competently. It needs to be focused on. It can't delay if there's some issue that happens that we wait for weeks or months, as you said, to address it. It's a matter of focus. We have a procurement system that works. It's a matter of focus and getting the competent people to run it, to make sure that this is our priority. That's again, you show your priority by who you're going to put in charge of these things, right? And if you're putting your most qualified people in charge of them and they are held to this standard that they are going to respond promptly, they're going to make it public, transparent, we're all going to be able to follow along. We would not find out months later that you never hired the construction manager that we authorized maybe a year ago, or anything like that we can all follow along in the process. I think that's what the people deserve, to see in procurement what is happening along the way.
And there was a big tie-up with the money too. I remember they were waiting for $7 million to pay for the contract manager. That took a month. And, it's like, why did it take so long? We're serious about making these.
Folks out there in television land, you can't feel the passion, but I can feel it. I mean, these ladies are serious. These are serious people. I believe them that they're going to prioritize it. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends and neighbors. This is an important discussion about how to improve our island and improve our government. It's desperate that we do so because we just dodged a typhoon that could have wiped us out.
Yes.
And we need to help our friends and neighbors to the north. But for you to step forward during this time, it really is honestly courageous, historic. You're the first two women to run as a team. A lot of things stacked against you, but I don't want to be blasphemous because it's Sunday, but it's almost like this has been divinely ordained because the typhoon comes and it levels the playing field. Everybody's signs are on the ground. You guys are starting from a fresh start. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are the same as everybody, and I think on this platform you are number one. We feel this is like the dawning of a new era, and I mean, again, it's a privilege to have both of you in studio today.
Oh, thank you, Doc. That's big coming from you, to all of you, and I know my competitors are right here.
I know it's kind of awkward, right?
You didn't know you were gonna run.
I know.
We
I'm
were trying to
hoping that-
change things too.
Yes,
I mean, that's our
agree. Yeah,
motivation, right?
You always have been,
And
we've always been.
having you
very
run
similar.
makes us happy, really,
I feel like the kid, and these are my co-parents. Who am I going to stay with this weekend, Mama?
So is there any master plan for the GovGuam agencies to ever consolidate in one area under one roof or give a new building to tax and revenue do some things that really spending our money is worthwhile. You know, me as a businessman and all my employees, we spend a lot on taxes. And we don't see what happens to that money. And this whole thing about GMH, sure, there's too many employees there, right? And the same in many GovGuam agencies. So if you're elected, are you going to right-size the government?
I absolutely intend to do that. Let me talk about GMH for 1 minute. It's a great example in so many areas, but let's say right sizing. They paid for a study on GMH. We can't see all those recommendations yet. And GMH really pushed back hard on that study of how to, you know, what to prioritize at the hospital, and this was a study done or commissioned by GITA. And so those are the things. We have some studies that are already existing that tell us where they need more focus or less people or whatever, and what to do. And the resistance to doing that is really what compels us. But what I feel like that's where the people have gotten so frustrated, and that's why they are demanding, we want change.
I think this is not just the hospital.
Yes,
I think this
it's
is
an
in many
example.
government agencies.
Yes.
That people have become too accustomed to having their own way, even if it wasn't the right way. And, you know, just,
Yeah.
well, I got more juice than you do, so I'll tell you what to do, or I'm more politically inclined, so you have to listen to me. And
Yeah.
this is why Charlie and I are interested in running as business people.
Yes, and I think we should use the business model, right? Where
Definitely.
all businesses have had to make a shift. If they weren't doing this already, they have to shift to customers first. It has to be. The only way to survive, the only way to grow, the only way to really become that what you want to be. And I think the government is the same. It's got to be a customer first model. It has to be that culture. It has to come from the top down. It has to be like nothing else should be tolerated, I feel like. So we give the runaround. We've heard complaints about that. Of course, I've lived on Guam all my life. I know exactly firsthand some of these runarounds. And so this is the thing. Even my own family is completely frustrated with the government sometimes, right? And I try my best, as a senator. We can call these agencies, we can check their mandates, whether they're doing it properly, we can check their rules, if they're really enforcing them fairly or not, if we can, urge the directors, we can call the very competent employees sometimes and say, what is the real problem here?
Yeah.
And then you find out the real problems have to do with some management issues, like contracting, like they didn't contract correctly, or they didn't, make sure that the expiring contract was going to be renewed on time, or make sure that the expiring contract we were going to enter into a new one. That's what happened at Reventax.
Yeah,
So
that
just
was a
things
shame
like
to
this.
have that
Yeah,
happen.
so some of these runaround, of course, are completely unnecessary, and they should be fixed.
I've been very open about saying that I think there's a reason why, we haven't had the systems all talk to each other. Because when they do, they're going to reveal a lot
Yeah,
of
I agree.
inefficiencies, right? Which leads me to the other point is the hiring process. So we do have great GovGuam workers, amazing. But you can probably put them in the percentage of them that are the ones that are day in, day out, giving all they have, and they're frustrated because on the back
Yes.
end, you have a lot of folks that are not doing anything.
Yeah, they get frustrated.
And the people that don't want change are the ones that are not doing anything because they're getting in there, picking up a paycheck. But again, not a fault to them. They're looking for a job. But what I recently have heard is that folks that have returned back to Guam, that have worked in other agencies on the mainland, have tons of experience, don't get hired.
They
Okay.
probably wouldn't be happy there anyway.
Well, but again.
But you're right,
But they're
yeah.
talking about the hiring process.
Yeah.
They're like, I didn't get. And this was somebody yesterday as well. Like, I didn't get hired, and I should have been.
experienced that myself. I applied to the hospital. It took a year for them to get back to me.
And
And
then
so by that time, I was already a teacher, so.
Yeah. So, but and you
But-
came
but-
back, and you had the skill sets, and you should have been hired.
An
So-
experienced.
And so people get
that-
frustrated, and that's okay. You know what? Maybe it is time for me to move off island again and looking
Yeah.
for other opportunities.
Let's
That
hope-
is
yeah,
something that I
yeah.
think that
I'm gonna change that.
you need to
Yeah.
look at because
So that's correct. It's too slow to hire, especially in critically needed areas. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So when we needed social workers, when we had this crisis at CPS, we had
Oh, right.
foster kids, they have no place. We find out we don't have enough social workers to handle the volume of cases that we have on Guam to actually, they're the ones, the one-on-one that take care of the kids, they find the families, not enough. Well, how do we hire more? What is the delay? Oh my goodness, it's a delay. It's, you gotta go through this other agency, and this other agency is the one who's going to, make the announcements and do all of this and this and this, and I just feel like these are not all the same, right? They must be prioritized by need. We have engineer needs in DPW that we've not filled for years, and so it makes you think, oh wait, maybe we don't need it. But that's not the case at all, right?
Right.
You can see sometimes from what you've seen after the storm.
In the VA, in
Yes,
the VA office.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So there are needs. They must be filled. We need, at office, it's the DOA right now that is going to prioritize and really get those done. And if our systems don't work, they're too slow, they are not bringing in the qualified people that we know are here and willing to work, then that's our failure. And we're not announcing properly. We can do more. We just have to move with the community as well, right? If they can't see our ads because they're published someplace obscure, then we need to fix that. If they don't know that, but one of the similar complaints, not just that they don't get back to you on hiring, but of course, preferential treatment in hiring, right? And so this is one of the things that we are very sensitive to. We feel like this is such a big distrust of the government problem. And we want the people to trust the government, that it's there for you and we are working for you. And if we can't apply the rules fairly across the board, promotions are not fair, if hiring is not fair, I think there's kind of a mad rush of hiring at the end of some of these gubernatorial terms, and we want fairness. We want critical positions. That's what we really want.
The morale of the government depends too on people making decisions that have the integrity and the experience. And like you said, you could go to somebody and say, now tell me what's really going on here, right? Well, that's the kind of person that needs to be up,
Yes.
lifted up and implement what's right.
Yes.
And it isn't happening.
Yeah.
And also proactively, I was thinking, as far as workforce development, if we can tie the needs of the community, the vacancies that are out there. So I've been pushing for pre-apprenticeships in our high schools. So we graduate about 2,000 students a year. Imagine if we expanded the satellite programs that GCC has in the schools to address all the vacancy issues. We can graduate students that are already pre-qualified for these positions. They can then move on to an apprenticeship position. So it really helps not only, it would help the businesses, it would help government get quality, candidates in there. It also, it maximizes, our budget, our money is an investment now into the students. My calculations, about 30% go on to college. What happens to the others? And so this is an untapped potential that we need to make sure that we are, basically providing pipelines into these different fields as we build up our economy, as we make Guam more resilient. So there is a framework that we can do as well, in addition to making these processes more fair and, less, remove
And this,
favoritism.
tying it to the jobs, it really ensures that they are going to have that standard of living that they deserve here, right? That they will be qualified for jobs, that they will be able to thrive in good jobs. We want good jobs for our people.
Lots of smart talk coming out of everybody's mouths here today, but most importantly, what's going into your mind. If you like what's going on, you can contact these young ladies at their senatorial offices, because you've already elected them into important offices, but now they're asking for your vote so that they can take Adelup. And I think this is an exciting moment. Please like, share, and subscribe this show. We're recording live, but it's going to go out onto our multiple platforms. SOS Productions is going to do some wonderful things with it. And this is not the last that you've heard of Senator ThereseTerlaje and Senator Sabina Perez. They are the newest team presenting themselves for your vote for Governor and Lieutenant Governor of Guam, and we plan to have them back in studio very soon. But so happy you could do this on the week after a major typhoon, as we're still in the middle of our own personal recoveries. Really want to thank you and give you maybe a moment to make a statement about, because we talk about the operational challenges, and let's face it, some of them are really heavy, but this is all about maybe setting a new vision for Guam, being the people that will allow the policies of Guam to actually be actualized and to change the future for our next generation. Could you maybe switch moves from being so, I guess, so into the details? Let's talk about the vision. What is your vision as candidates for Governor and Lieutenant Governor of Guam?
I want our people to thrive. I think they deserve that, and that the government is here to assist them in thriving. That any impediment to them living comfortably here on Guam with the resource that we have, our resources should be dedicated to them. It's and really that's the bottom line. And I feel like we have places that we can save money by getting better value, by being fair in our procurement, by being fair in our contracting, by encouraging competition like our procurement system is supposed to do, and so that we can get better value and we can keep the value and the savings and use that for all the rest of those unfunded things that we must do as a government of Guam if we want the people of Guam to be happy here, to thrive here, and our students especially to have a future here. That's really our goal. And I believe that the real bottom line for a lot of these things is honesty and transparency. So let everyone know what is going on. It's really key. That's how we're going to get consensus. That's how we can disagree. I'm totally good with disagreements as long as they're on issues, on what, maybe, red is better than green for some reason. Tell me the reason so that we can all be on the same page. And I really feel like that's why transparency is important. We want our community to help us, to be involved. We're helping you. We want to help you. We can only do that if we can listen. We can only do that if that's our focus the entire time. And so that's one of the things. It was a really, really big decision to run. And it's a commitment that affects, our personal lives, of course. We've kind of experienced this for the last few years, but also our families, also, the future of Guam. And so for me, I don't know, I love Guam. And so there's nothing that is going to stop me from helping Guam. I want to help our people. I feel bad that we're still so vulnerable. And I feel bad that we have been so very blessed with many resources, and that we still have people who are struggling, who are living in poverty, who are living in homes that are not adequate for children, and that we are raising children in an environment that is like abuse all around us, crime or substandard living, and that has to stop. So I really believe with the resources of the government prioritized, we are going to lift our entire community, and everyone is going to thrive. We're going to make it fair, and most of all, we're going to be honest with you. So I'm very grateful.
Nice.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Sabina?
Yeah, so it's, we really want to, we're not about special interests, we're about the interest for all of Guam. We're action oriented. We have a record that proves that we fulfilled our promises, and there's still a lot of work to be done. We just need your help, and we're listening to your needs, and we are very dedicated to providing the solutions, but we also would like to empower our community as well, because that's really where long-lasting change will happen. But we just need to create this system and put it in place for you, and we just need your help, and we ask for your support.
People always tell me when I meet them out there, oh, thank you for fighting for us. And I just want to tell them, thank you for fighting for us as well. And thank you for fighting for fairness, fighting for a better government. I think the people are fighting for a better government. And that's why we want to help them too, right? We are here for that.
Very nice. So I could just add, the people of Iran are fighting for power. So
yes.
the GPA
Melissa
could
needs water.
take care of our friends and neighbors down in Iran. We're
Many
not forgetting
villages,
about
Chico, Jotnya water, Melissa water.
I know, but shameless
Yes,
plug for our
so-
friends in Iran.
This is
Yeah.
another just very side question, nothing to do with politics, but how are you guys doing with the signatures?
Oh, thank you for asking. We need signatures. So we're required
I
to
love my
turn in
co-parents.
500 signatures, just like Jeff and Charlie, 500 signatures. We're looking for at least double that amount so that we can, any that are not valid, you know, they're not going to count them at the Guam Election Commission. So anybody willing to sign, please help us. They're having a signing party. We're not having a party, but
We can have a party for you anytime you want.
They're
you know?
all working together.
please, please.
People really want change.
Thank you.
I can just tell you.
Yeah.
In my case, I have about 300 signatures
Right on.
my own.
That's great.
And when I talk to people, they say, Jeff, we just want better. We want, you know, to get rid of all the politics, all
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the baloney that's keeping Guam the problem it is to the people that live here. And to us too, and I want you to think about this, we need to start growing food here for the
Yes,
people here.
that's-
We need to have a fishing industry.
Yes.
I mean, you can't even,
Support our
we live on an
fishermen.
island and you can go buy a steak cheaper and faster than a fish. And there's something wrong with that.
Yeah,
you know?
because our fishermen need much more support.
Yes.
They
More
need
than
a
our
lot
we
more
need it.
support. They
Members-
need rules that work with them, not against them, and they need our support. And there are ways the government can help them.
You remember Zawanich?
Yes.
The tuna
Yes,
people.
the
We need that type of industry
commercial
here.
industry, yeah.
Invited from Taiwan or someplace that can supply what we need. Also, we need to go to other islands out there. They have produce that we could get. And transportation, I mean, right now you can't land at the airport, but if you had a boat, you could go over to Saipan, right? And if you go to Saipan and you want to take people there, tourists, whatever, and bring back produce, because they have a lot of produce there.
Yeah, they've been bringing some, and we found out from the farmers up at some of these yesterday that, yeah, their farms pretty much got wiped out.
Oh,
And so
well-
some of our local farmers as well have been reaching out to me, telling me that their farms are wiped out too. And so this is very important, and to building a resilient industry of and taking care of our own food needs here is really critical. It's critical.
Well, I think hydroponic farming
Yes.
is probably the best here because every time, you know, I talk to my farmers down here in the south, they say,
Yeah.
oh, the weather wiped us out
Yeah.
or this, that, or the other thing.
Pest.
But we need to spend the money to build the facility and farm inside and maybe get people from Taiwan to do that, help us out. People that are successful at doing it already.
Yeah, because you know they do it in Taiwan, so they have agriculture tourism. So you know, so we had students from UOG go out to Taiwan, and they went through a pineapple farm, and the Taiwanese said, you know, pineapple is not indigenous to Taiwan, but they grow it, and people love it, and so you know they come back, and it's just one of those things like, you know, why are we not doing it
Yeah,
here?
and they
Why-
make tourism work together
Yes.
with their agriculture industry. I think that's something we really
Yeah, I
have to
mean, we could get a
incorporate
lot of families. I mean,
Yeah.
even just local communities, folks. I mean, you know, have their families go down, pick their own corn, tomatoes, strawberries. I mean, all those stuff should be just inherently part of like
Yeah.
weekend activities, weekday activities, and it really helps out the farmers. So
And
I
then-
think those things need to be.
Yes, absolutely. They've been
implemented.
talked about, of course,
Yes.
right? They've
Of
talked, we've
course,
heard a lot
yeah.
talk about it, but not implemented or not secured. And maybe some have attempted also, like the hatchery.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we just need to
Well,
grow
even
that.
there was people growing lettuce here
Yes.
successfully.
Yes.
And I think that's gone away, right? I mean, that's bad. I mean, the government needs to help businesses grow and, you know, whatever it takes to make us have good food on Guam without waiting for that ship. You know, the
Right.
ship, it's 3 weeks on the water. You know, I buy a lot of produce for the restaurant. So when you get this vegetables and everything coming in and it's already delivered to California from the farm, and then we don't know how old it is, and then by send that to Guam, and then 3 weeks later it gets here, you throw away half the lettuce. You know, it's just, it's expensive.
Yeah, and the prayers go out to the families of the crew of the ship that we lost.
What happened on that?
So that's the Marianas. So that's a ship that actually services the you know, Tinian, this Rota, the smaller islands, because that's the size of ship that
Based
can go
out of Saipan?
based out of Guam. It does the
Oh,
Guam
okay.
Saipan Tinian run, and you know they went lost. They lost communication, and the Coast Guard found they lost communication when they lost the engine. You know, when you lose an engine in the middle of a storm, it's like throwing a cork in the water. So they found the ship upside down, but they haven't been able. The latest report, I haven't seen anything on the crew being rescued at all. So
6 members in the crew,
members,
yeah.
Really tragic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very. So,
very.
but those, that was the lifeline of getting things
Yes.
to the island. So
Yes.
transportation and logistics is a very important infrastructure
Yes,
here.
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
the other part is, we have a lot of families that live down south, only have one vehicle. It's very hard for them to travel to the middle of the island or up north.
Transportation is a really
Right.
big thing for Guam, and even, you wouldn't believe, so I passed a law that's a bus pass law. And this is really for those who had high demand, like they were in cases with CPS. They had to take care of their kids under court mandate, right? They had to make appointments, they had to make court hearings. They were not able to make it for lack of transportation. And so we made a bus pass law that requires transportation to issue bus passes. So my understanding is that this is in such high demand through the court system, through public health system, for these very the critical needs. And so I'm even surprised what high demand that really resulted in. So I'm glad that that's helping them, but yeah, we need a real system to help everybody, to help themselves, to get to work.
Right.
And that's really the most important, make sure they can get to work and school safely, and we're gonna grow our businesses that way.
Lots to do, lot to be thankful for,
We also have some questions.
and we have some questions, lots of questions.
Okay.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll keep it brief. I know Dave joined us, we have him in studio.
Right
Hi,
on,
Dave
Dave.
joined us
Yay,
here.
Dave.
And he also put a comment here, operative word is hardening our utility infrastructure to ensure services are provided during a faster recovery during these critical times of the utilities. Because Terlaje still does not have power, okay?
Yes.
We also have David Herrera, and he says,
Dave.
why don't we have any communication down in the south?
Right.
Without any internet, we are on radio silence. There's no communication. It feels unacceptable.
It is.
That's right? And so, I mean, in the last storm, they promised that will never happen again, because that was such a danger for the people, especially who could not communicate. And so, yes, David is the one who's showed me that we might need to look at AM radio again for emergency services, right? Or that if we have this capability, apparently it exists, that we can just resort back to that like we used to do for storms, so to make sure. But really, and get to the bottom again, if it's a power issue at these stations for the technology companies, we were told those were going to be resolved. And now we're told they're waiting on GPA. And I think, of course, now we learn again and again that we can't do that. Yeah, we have to have a backup that's not reliant on anything else that can go wrong with GPA. Even though they're working so very hard, and I'm very, very grateful to GPA. GPA at this time is like one of those, GPA's in our neighborhood. I love that. But they're working hard. But that's not the problem. They work so very hard. The problem is, like, what was the system that was put in place for these technology companies, and how are they going to get backup power? And how are the villages going to get the water, right? And I hate to see that they're not getting water because of a power situation. Right. I feel like that's something that should be resolvable.
The generator was not
that's what I mean.
hooked up
Yes.
and not, implemented and.
Yeah.
When you mentioned radio, I really think the government should have like its own radio station.
Right, that's exactly
And
what.
then disseminate, what's going on and
Yes.
talk to people. And
That's the official way to get out when you can't get internet on your phone.
Yeah.
We couldn't open any PDFs that they were sending out, right? Or the videos or any of that. Yeah, we might have to get back to some old
when I
fashioned.
worked at KATB for
Yeah.
6 years,
Yes,
we did so well during the typhoons because we had a good generator. And, it's in the valley, the Meningan Valley, and the antenna was just protected, So it was a huge, good thing for everybody that we stayed on the air, and we would take government's announcements, or we would tell people where they
Yes.
could get things. But like now, we're probably the only one on the air, right?
No. This morning, it's the Pirate Podcast.
Pirate Nation is rising.
You also have some more questions related to transportation, I know you addressed that briefly. In addition to that, we have, several people in the audience leaving comments as well. We don't have the time to go over all of it. Peter J. Santos also says Guam must elect leaders. A very positive comment. Anyone can be a politician, but not all politicians are leaders. So vote wisely, Guam. And of course,
Right on, Peter. Thank you.
And I encourage you both to go and look into the comments, and maybe there are questions. And finally, someone is asking, I think it's Katrina, where do they sign the petition?
All right. I have a number, and I'm.
Well, your office, right?
Yeah. You
Can they do it at your
just call my
office?
cell phone, 488-2782.
Oh,
Yes, and we'll get that to you.
We'll run it over.
Yeah.
So, one of the big questions, I think one of the biggest aspects of your platform was fighting against anti-corruption. And obviously, there's a lot of corruption that we can see on the news. It's very obvious. But you did mention something that most people will glaze over, which is GFMIS and the lack of integration with DRT. How much money did we spend on GFMIS? And why wasn't it integrated with DRT? And can someone please tell me why it doesn't work?
Yeah, so the last, I think we had an oversight hearing, and I believe Director Burns said it was DRT that decided not to be a part of the system. So it was a decision made by I guess, the director to not integrate.
I think,
And
yeah.
that was by Director Burton, that's what he said, stated on the record.
We also asked them when they were going to implement this new system that we were paying millions of dollars for, how is this transition going to be? Is it going to work? Are we going to be being told that, oh, we can't get that information on the system? Are the agencies going to be telling us that? And they promised no. What we're going to do was overlap running the old system and the new system so that they would always be able to access this old information. And while they, get training on the new one, well, apparently that's not the case. They can't access their old information, let alone the new information. Not all the agencies can do that. And we have asked the directors repeatedly, why is that? What are you doing about that? They come in for budget and they say, we can't give you that information, and that's how are we doing this?
And I would see if you guys can take a look at that. I mean, because I think that even going a little bit deeper is the fact that, what happened with DRT with a private company turning off the lights, so they hold the keys to the kingdom. Should never ever happen.
That's correct.
And so, but what we see and what we all know is that these different agencies have different private entities that are working, that have these codes that even though they're put out to bid, within the RFP, it says that you need to have that specific code that the company owns. So you technically, if you want to bid on this project, you have to go to this incumbent, request the code. It's never going to happen. They've done it for years. This has to stop.
Yes.
Somehow we've got to break this. Nobody should hold us hostage the way they did. It's almost like a ransom of what they did.
I totally agree with you. It's unconscionable.
No, unbelievable.
And it's not something new that we newly discovered. This happened maybe a decade ago when the DOA was down in the old DOA building. That was what was happening. And so this new contract should have not allowed that. We found out, we used to be, I don't know if you remember, it wasn't too long ago, when we could access some Department of Land Management files. We could see the property numbers or, who's the owner.
Should be able to,
Because they were
right?
integrated with Rev and Tax. And then that contract ended. And when I tried to press land management on it, they told me, well, they own the data. How insane is that?
Yeah,
All right, and that is a contracting issue.
That's a
and that's
problem.
a government, that's a real, for me, a really big issue. And I don't think we should tolerate that anymore.
No, absolutely. Completely agree.
How much money did we spend on GFMIS?
So if I recall, the initial amount was like 35 million, but I believe it's growing because of the amount of, I guess.
Add-ons?
Add-ons, yeah.
Does it work?
They've been adding on some things to make it work better, supposedly, like components, and so that's why.
So yeah, that was a huge problem.
Who runs that communication, and who runs it?
That's under Department of Administration.
Yeah, DOA.
So when are you gonna have them on oversight or a budget hearing?
Oh, we've had many.
No, but
Yeah.
when's the next
Oh,
time
DOA
you get to ask
budget?
us? People wanna know, and you guys are much, we were probably the most popular show on Sunday, but when you guys go into session, I mean, a lot of people are paying attention, and I think they want to know when you're going to get Ed Byrne in front of you for his budget hearing.
But so can I just ask, and be very straightforward, you stand against anti-corruption, okay? When I watch those oversight hearings, no one ever has any information, to the point where Senator Sean Limitato was saying, you guys realize we are at an oversight hearing, like nobody knows anything, and nobody wants to say anything. Why did we spend $35 million in growing on a system that still doesn't work, and how is that contract awarded to that person or company?
And that was under emergency procurement.
What?
It was done, I think, by.
Now, okay.
A good question.
It's a way to.
That was an
get what you
emergency
want.
I
prescription.
believe it was, yeah. It was under executive order. It was an
It's a lot
So
of
shouldn't we
money.
be calling the governor of Guam, Lulian Guerrero, down to the legislature and grilling her on her decisions? Because we kind of blaming all these people, but they all work for her. Buck stops with her.
But let me just verify, but I do recall there was. an
Well, either way,
executive order.
the
Yeah.
point is it's a system failure, policy or operational failure. She's the executive, and she keeps avoiding coming down to talk to you guys.
You know what? And I had somebody from the finance off island come in, friend of mine, and they had looked at the system before it was bought for DOA, and they said that the system that they got would never work with the system that we have implemented. You know, with the AS400 and the way that the information is so siloed that it would never, you know, you would, and it's exactly what he said. You're gonna have, they're gonna tell you that you need another dongle for this, another connection for this, another platform for this, and the initial, I mean, but it's a game. And everybody who's in the IT world knows exactly what I'm talking about, because when you're sold a platform, they want to sell you all the bells and whistles because that's how they make the money. And you know, 35 million is going to continue to grow. And the sad part about it is, at some point, we're going to have to say enough. We're going to have to cut it, and we're going to have to cut that loss. That 35 million could be completely lost. But somebody got well off. I mean,
Somebody made a big.
Do
Somebody
you
made
remember when the hospital wanted to
Oh, yeah,
change
that-
its EHR system? It's a health record system. And they went and they got a new record system and then came back maybe less than a year later and told us, this system doesn't work for us. It's one of the biggest things you're going to buy for a hospital is this EHR. Some quotes tell me 60 million we're going to spend on a real capable one for our needs that can integrate with public health, hopefully, right, and across the board. But that system, they said, was not proper, not even suitable for hospitals. It's suitable for some other use. And that is the thing.
That is the stuff I think that we need to, if
Yes.
we're really going to fight corruption, you know, I mean, that is the blatant corruption that's happening within the government, where these contracts are being awarded, and you know, everybody should have the ability to bid, but it's got to be the right thing for Guam and for the government. So we have to break it. And again, I've always said, if you know, if you find me on the side of the road bleeding, it's because we need to go after these special interest groups and break that. Enough is enough. They're taking, you know, it's our money, right? The 35 million comes from, we're all paying
Sure.
into this.
Yeah, so I did pass a law to increase more transparency on the bidding process. I don't know if that's been fully implemented.
Well, you're about to find out. This time next year, you will be the Lieutenant Governor of Guam potentially, and all this again, many weighty issues will be on your very capable shoulders. But the people of Guam should probably come and ask you more questions. You'll be available, I presume, next week as we make our recovery, or maybe even this afternoon. Come down to Jeff's, meet with all the great people in studio with us. We are going to maybe try to end this show on a more brighter note as we play the pirate game. Is that correct? Yes, it looks like we are. Otherwise, we have to dance. So it's one of the two, right? I mean, because we
Let's
are.
just dance.
So Teresa wants to dance.
And can we see Dave's shirt? Love his shirt. Dave, can you turn around?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look, he's doing an ad. Yeah. Shameless plug for
Show the
Senator
front
Dwayne.
too.
Yes, Dr. Wen hasn't gotten his shirt printed yet. So.
The flip-flop, yeah.
So right now he's advertising Jeff's Pirate Scope. Don't forget the barbecue is grilling, the calamansi tea is cold, and we need you to come down to Jeff's Pirates Cove.
So maybe, okay, So we don't have all the other candidate cards because there's typhoon, okay? So
All right.
go to the printers, okay? But
Would
we're
you
just
say it?
gonna go with saying it plus or minus, and everybody who is watching online can play along with us, or just put in the comments, who are you giving a +1 to or -1 to? And you can go to hafahour.com to play the game along with us. We will start, I will leave you two to go last, ladies, and we'll start with the gentleman from left to right.
Okay, shameless plug. +1, it's kind of like divided. So really great conversation with the gubernatorial candidates, Senator Therese and Senator Sabina. Thank you so much for joining us. But yesterday we had a plus for myself and Jeff. We really had a great opportunity to have good discussion, talk about platform items, and I think that that's very important for the people and what they're asking us. Right? That's the question they asked us. Like, well, why are you running and what does your platform look like? And I think that was very important. So really great meeting yesterday. -1 still goes, unfortunately, to Senator Joe and Dwayne, because we still haven't really seen anything come out in regards to the pay, minimum wage, and what some of the bills that the senator wants to push forward. So really want to see more insight, and can't say anything about the signs anymore because they're all down. And so that's my plus and -1 for this week.
I'm going to say +1 to Senator Therese and Senator Sabina for coming into studio. They really did light up the room. We are so thankful for them making the move to make this gubernatorial election 2026 truly a historic one. Many options now for the people of Guam. You really can't say that our community doesn't care about their politics. In fact, this is our favorite sport, and I think we do it very well at a very high level. But having these two young ladies step forward is really something that I think gives people a lot of choices now, and really good ones. And so we appreciate your conversation in studio with us today. The -1 will now go to Marcel Camacho, because again, he keeps making our vote. Marcel, we're going to have to call you in. These young ladies have decided to pick up a packet. You announced very early that you would. Yet we have not seen you do so. And again, if you're not going to run, that's fine. You can join us in studio and we can talk about other things like farming. But that's it for me, -1. Jeff?
Thank you, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll give my +1 to these two ladies right here
Oh, so gracious.
for coming in today, and we love the competition because now we feel we have a more level competition for us to deal with, right?
Yeah.
We've had most of the candidates